So hello everyone, in this video we'll be creating our blog form first because whenever we are actually creating a blog app, so there should be a form in which we can actually write the things whatever will be available in our actual blog. So for that I'll be creating a components folder inside the src directory first. So I can write components here. So I'll be storing components in here. Also, one more folder I can create, pages. So pages will be also like fold components, but it will contain all the reusable components. So pages are more specifically for the pages. For example, in the home page, I can create home.jsx, and inside that, what I want to show actually, so I can actually present here. So for example, inside that I can write RFC. Remember the shortcut snippet I told you inside the last video. So in here I can write home, for example, and in here I can write other pages, for example, about us, or for example, all blogs, or let me just write blogs. I didn't added the extension. Let me just add that. So in here I can write it. So in home.jsx, actually we'll be creating a form in here where we can create our blog, and then we'll show all the blocks in here. So right now let me just write the same thing in here, RFCE, and let me just save that. So home.jsx is already there. We can import it in the app.js. Let me just remove them. I can write home.jsx and see that it is automatically imported if I press tab. So that's it for the home, and I can also create navbar component and switch them. Like I can place that navbar component inside the components, yeah, in here. Also, let me make you understand one very important topic, which is React router. So if I go to the browser, like you can see that home is there, but we cannot see blog here. Why is that? Because the blog is not rendered in any of the main component or in any of the app.js. So I can show blog component as well if I want. So blogs in here. Let me just save it. Now you see that both of the items are there, home and the blog. But we don't want this behavior actually. We actually want the home in a different page and the blog in a different page. For that we actually use React router. We'll not be doing in this video because that's a separate otherwise this video will be a little bit longer. So our main theme is that we actually want to create a form, and we'll understanding the states first, then we'll be going into the like React router, and then we'll be understanding what is React router. So React router is basically just like it will show the blog in a different route. For example, I can create a blog route. There we'll be able to see only the blog page which is there. So let me just write a blog form here, and inside that I can create a blog form. For example, I can create an input. Let me just create one div first. Inside that I can write input type text. So it will be something like similar to the HTML, but it is self-closing. I can also write a label which says title, or I can add a placeholder as well if I want, that enter blog title. Then after that, I can wrap them inside a div. So this is for this, and this should be, I think, form, not the div. And I can give a space, and I can copy paste the same thing, but with a different idea. For example, category, I can write category, enter block category, maybe like any category for the block. For example, it is technology, politics, or anything. And then I can write content or the description. And for that, I'll be creating a text area. And in here, in the text area, I think the text area should be self-closing because it will not contain anything. So we can make it a self-closing element. And in here also I can write placeholder. And inside that I can specify enter blog description or anything. That's it. Let's save it and see what happens now. You see that we can also style them if I want. So for example, I can attach a CSS file. Let me just create outside home.css, and then I can connect this home.css and home.jsx together by importing that file first. So it is very good if you store all the styling in a separate style folder. That will be also good because the project is not big, so we are not doing that. We can directly import that home.css, no problem. Also, if you want to add a module.css, that we can also do. Let me just write one thing first. For example, I can style all the inputs, and I can also create a I can also create a class if I want. For example, class form control. Instead of doing the global styling for the element, I can style that. I can access that class form control. I can give it a background color if I want. Background color will be white smoke or anything. And then I can give it a width of 300 pixel maybe. And I can give it a padding 10 pixel and a margin 10 pixel. I can make it a display block so it comes in a different line, not in the same line as the label. So that will also be a good idea. So if I see that in the preview, you can see that I can also remove the border if I want. So let's go and remove the border. Border none. Now it's cool, I think. I can give anything of like any styling you can give. I'm just giving this one. And for the form, I think I should give it some padding of 1 rem. Maybe that will be good. So this is how you actually style them. So you can see that it is taking a little bit styling. Also, if I want to make a like this div in a one line, all these divs in a one line, so I can do that. But I think in a different line they're looking cool, so that is the thing. Let's copy the same class in a different inputs as well. You can see that I didn't add class attribute. I instead add class name attribute because class is a reserved keyword inside the JavaScript, so we cannot use class here. So that is one change you can consider from the HTML, that it is changed now. So it is in camel casing. In here I can paste the same class because I want the same styling. So let's see what happens now. I'm just not styling it very fantastically. I'm just styling it very easy because we actually want to focus on the functionality, not the styling. So this is it for the styling, I think. I can also make the labels bolder a little bit. I could also create the classes for them, but I will not be creating. That will be a different point of consideration. Let me just write font weight and bold. You see that now it's, I think, looking cool. So this is it. Now what we want to do is we want to store all the things which we'll be actually writing in this inside a state. So what is actually a state? State is a kind of temporary values for a component which we can use for posting the data and for showing them inside the JSX or for any purpose we want. So states will be necessary whenever you want to create a dynamic value which you want to have a control for. Like if you want to make control of that value, then you can do that. So for creating state, we are creating state for actually grabbing the value whatever the user types in the inputs. So for that, I'll be creating a state for you like for this input title. So for creating a state, you just use this array bracket, and then inside that you can write any name for the state, for example title. This will be the variable which will actually store the state value, and then after that we write a name for the function that will update this title or this state value. So I can write set title. This is actually a convention set, and then we use the same name with a camel casing, which we use in the state. So this is actually the standard of writing the state names. And then you can use this use state hook, which is actually present in the React.js, which you can make use of for creating the states. And you can initialize, you can give it an initial value of state. For example, I can give John. So that will be the initial value. If nothing happens in the input, then this value will be the value for the state. Then how can we get the value from this input when the user types? So how can we do that? For that, actually, we'll be using on change event. So you remember this from the JavaScript, but we don't actually write in JavaScript like this, but we actually write this like this. So all small case. But in JSX, it is a little bit changed. So you can see that it is in camel case on change. And after that, you can specify the other function which you want to execute or whenever user types or whenever this input value gets changed. I can write handle title. So I can copy this and name and create this function. And I can create an arrow function inside this home component. I can create any function, like I can create a normal function as well, but I wanted to create a arrow function, so that's why I created that. And we also get a event object which will actually be the event object which will have our value prop or the value which is typed inside that field. So let's just console log this event dot target. So event is an object which consists one target property. Inside that target property, our value is there, whatever the user types. So let's just use that. And if I do that, and if I see the console in the inspect, okay, now it is, I think, yeah. Now let me just type anything, for example, coding. So this, you can see that it is actually logged out. because we have added a console log whenever the value inside the field is changed. So this function is executed whenever we are typing or whenever we are changing the value of that field. Now we can set that value to the state by using set title, which is a function I told you that actually manipulates the state. We can change the value of the previous state, which is John, to this new value. I can write target dot value, the same thing which we are console logging. I can comment this out because we don't need that actually. Also, one more thing we can do is we can specify in value, we can specify by the value attribute inside the input. I can specify this state name, which is title. So title is our state name which we are actually applying to this input. So whenever the like function is executed, the state will be changed and that will be applied to this input as well. This is actually called a controlled form or controlled input, because we are controlling the value whatever is typed inside that, and then we are showing that inside the actual input. So actually uncontrolled forms are not good. We should use always you can see that John is executed at first whenever nobody is doing anything. For example, if I refresh the page, so John will be presented there, or John will be the value of this field, because the initial value of the state was John. So you remember that when we created with useState hook, then we assigned the initial value as John. That's why the John is there. But if I make it empty, so nothing will be the initial value for this input field. Now you can see that it is empty now. I can write any name, for example, coding tips. Similarly, I can do that for the other fields as well. This is your homework. You can assign the states and their respective functions, and then you can like make use of all these states in a separate function. You can console log all these values on a button click. Okay, so that you can do. For this is your homework. In the next video we'll be meeting and we'll be getting all these values and we'll be submitting that to a backend. So we'll be initializing a backend and then we'll be getting those values. So first let's this is completed. Similarly you have to do for the other fields as well, like for the categories and for the description you can create the separate states and a separate handler for them, and then you can assign them. If you don't want to create a separate handler, so you can also do like this. So you can create an in an arrow function as well. So like this also, this is also one short trick. So you can write set title here. Without the handler, I'm writing set title, and we can grab that e inside this arrow function and we can set that to e dot target dot value here. So this you can also do. That will also give you the same result like creating the other handler, but I'll suggest you to create one other handler because that is actually a good way, because we can check whether the values actually be we are getting or not, and we can also make some like validation or anything we want inside this function as well before setting that to a state. So this is it for the video. I hope you understood how the states actually working in a form, and we can how we can actually assign the states inside a form field. So you have to work on the other two fields, then we'll be understanding the backend. Let's meet in the another one. Thank you for watching.